courses in biology, environmental science, ecology, and botany. Her book is entitled The Farm Worker's Journey, and she focuses on the human side of this binational migration circuit of people coming and going and working on the farms and how that impacts their lives. She was also chosen as one of Silicon Valley's 100 most influential Latinos in the category of technology, health, and science by the Mexican American Community Services Agency. And she was chosen as a Woman of the Year in 2013 by the National Association of Professional Women. You can see some of her work at farmworkerfamily.org. Pleasure to introduce Dr. Ann Lopez.
Right here? Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be among all these conscious people. It is really, yes, it is just wonderful to be in your company today, I have to say. And yes, I have worked with farm workers now for almost 20 years. I became interested when I studied the North American Free Trade Agreement and what it did to the farmers in Mexico, running them off of their sustainable farms, forcing them into this country, and most of them end up in some form of agribusiness. Now, what I have learned is farm workers need 4 things. The 4 key things that farm workers need are, number 1, to be recognized for the value of the work that they do. One of the things that I love about Cesar Chavez is that he is a light. He shined a light on this horrible oppression that is the basis of the food source in our culture. And he had the courage to do that. And farm workers are an invisible, what I call slave class that very few people know about. I feel privileged and honored to be trusted by them and to learn about their lives. And they need to know that their work matters. That's number 1. Number 2, they need comprehensive immigration reform. Yes, in this state, 75% of the farm workers that harvest our food are undocumented economic refugees of NAFTA. This is disgraceful. Nobody who works 13 hours in the field should be worried about being deported. And they all worry about being deported, right? Yes. And in Santa Cruz County, it's 83%. They live in constant fear of being separated from their families. Now, when I hear on the radio people talking about family values, I almost get sick to my stomach, because obviously these values do not apply to farm workers. Farm worker families, through deportation, are constantly split apart. It's tragic. So they need to be recognized for the value of the work they do. They need comprehensive immigration reform. They need a living wage. They live in grinding poverty. Poverty unlike anything I've seen hardly anywhere in the world. 16 people living in less than 1,000 square feet with 1 bathroom. This is disgraceful. And then beyond that, they need a contract with their employer. They need a union, a contract with their employer, because otherwise, without a contract, oftentimes they don't get paid for the work they do. Wage theft is common. It's tragic. And I'd also like to say that corporate agribusiness is not working for the majority of the planet's inhabitants. It is not working for consumers who aren't allowed to know what's in their food. It's not working for farm workers who are literally worked to death and die at an average life expectancy of only 49 years. It's not working even for the growers who are now in this horrible neoliberal economy that we're all a part of. They're competing not just regionally with other growers, but they're competing internationally. So if they start growing a crop cheaper in Taiwan than wherever they're growing it, they'll ship it over, undercut the market, and put the grower out of business. And certainly the environment is suffering terribly. The World Wildlife Fund last month came out with a statistic. We have lost 1/2 of the wild animals on this planet since 1970. This is disgraceful. We cannot continue on this path. And in this country alone, we use between 1.1 and 5.1 million pounds of pesticides a year. In California, it's 189 million pounds. Dumping poisons on the environment is stupid. It's just stupid. Is it any wonder that the ecosystems are struggling? Now, if we could get rid of corporate agribusiness and go back to organic farming, we would mitigate greenhouse gases by 40%. 40%. Now, there's 2 studies I'd like you to look up on the internet. One from the UN Rapporteur, and the other a 30-year study by the Rodale Institute that shows that if we converted to all organic tomorrow, all over the world, we could feed everybody on the planet. So why aren't we doing that? That only makes sense. Why aren't we doing that? Why do we need these poisons? And this is something that Cesar was very concerned about. So I will end with my favorite one of his quotes, which is, "History will judge societies and governments and their institutions, not by how big they are or how well they serve the rich and the powerful, but how effectively